Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Whole Wellness. My name is Anne. So today we're going to be talking about something that I vlogged about before, and it was a 5-part series I did 4 years ago. So buckle your seatbelts, get a pen and notepad, and get ready to jot some of this stuff down because this stuff is good. Wolf behavior and pack arrangement. I was like, oh man, I gotta do content on this. Have you ever heard the phrase, he's an alpha male or she's an alpha female? He made the comment, well, you know why you keep bumping heads. And I was like, no. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, if there's a perfectly logical explanation for this, tell me what it is, because I'll resolve it, He said, because you're both alpha females. And I went, what? She was in no way an alpha female. Her personal life was an absolute disaster. She did not have it together at all. There were times that she didn't come to work showered. Her kids were always in trouble. Car problems, relationship problems, children problems, bill problems, you name it. So back in 2014, 2015 through 2019, when I worked at this triggering job, I was still so ignorant about so much. I had no clue that I was raised in a unhealthy, dysfunctional home. I had no clue that I had my own issues. I had no clue what I was dealing with this woman at work. And when that executive said that to me, I paused and I came to the conclusion that he is way wrong. Even though she's aggressive in the pursuance of her goals in her life, she had nothing in her life together. The irony of all this. Fast forward to the current day, this company is now defunct. How did that happen? Simultaneously, I did not look in the mirror at myself and consider myself an alpha female either at that time. I considered myself a devoted employee and intended to retire at this organization. I never in a million years thought that things would go the way they did. But there's a reason that things went the way they did. Listen to this. In humans, how we define alpha is incredibly subjective. And in wolves, it's extremely simple, extremely black and white, and extremely clear. From one pack to another, they're all establishing the social hierarchy within the group and the leadership within the group the exact same way. However, wolves have a bad reputation. These myths and legends about how bloodthirsty and cunning they are, and they're not. Real wolves that real biologists have studied for decades have proven and shown the tremendous intelligence, wisdom, care, responsibility, and success that wolves have. When the biologists talk about wisdom and not being aggressive, they're talking about doing what needs to be done with the greater good of the group on the forefront of your mind at all times. The alpha wolf does not obtain his position by aggressive and fierce battle with any other wolf. He gets his position by his sheer demonstration of ability. Simple as that. He never shows aggression towards other members. Human leadership can be defined the exact same way. Alpha humans should be defined by us collectively the same way wolves identify who alpha males and alpha females are. So, now that we know a little bit about the natural world and wolf behavior and pack social hierarchy and how it's obtained and how wolves survive within a pack, we can also look to wolf behavior for things like verbal and nonverbal social cues that tell us the emotional state of a wolf. Some of the nonverbal cues that a wolf might display that indicate a very volatile or aggressive or unstable emotional state is they'll bare their teeth, or they'll put their ears flat down. Those are a couple of the nonverbal cues. One of the verbal cues, in contrast, that they will display that indicate a unstable, volatile, aggressive kind of emotional state is they'll growl. And between the nonverbal and verbal cues, you'll know you should hightail it out of there. You should back away. It's a warning. You should not interact with or continue to engage with this unstable wolf, this unstable being. A non-aggressive, stable wolf that's non-threatening will yip, they'll howl, they'll be playful, their tail will be wagging, their ears will be up in curiosity, and there's other nonverbal cues. And verbal cues like the yipping and the howling at the moon and things like that, that indicate that the emotional stability of this being, this wolf, is stable and non-violent, non-aggressive, and non-threatening. So there's very clear social cues in the natural world, specifically with wolves, because that's what we're talking about, that tell you whether a wolf is an aggressive or an unstable frame of mind or emotional state. I read about this biologist study who established that wolves, when they are sick or old or weak, they hold their tails down most of the time. And then if they're part of the support of the alpha warrior type wolf, where they play an active social role in supporting the survival of the pack, their tail is held straight out. Whereas the alpha, they observed the alphas in the pack hold their tails up almost exclusively. So someone like me, who I would call me an ignorant person with regards to wolf behavior, even though I've done this little behavioral research, I could go to Yellowstone National Park, say, and watch and observe a wolf pack there in Yellowstone. Man, that lighting is weird. And tell you with a pretty good educated guess who is the alpha male, who is the alpha female, who are the subordinate wolves, and who are the sick and elderly, exclusively based on how they hold their tail. Another non-verbal social cue. But that sort of non-verbal cue tells you about their social standing and what their position is in the social hierarchy of the pack. It doesn't necessarily tell you about their emotional state. So you couple these other So you couple the verbal and the nonverbal together, and you get a really, really accurate picture of the emotional state of wolves. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because then if you think about it, let's switch to humans and human behavior. An emotionally unbalanced, unstable, potentially aggressive person might exhibit nonverbal cues like stomping their feet or throwing things or flailing their hands. Those are just examples. There's probably an endless list of nonverbal cues or behaviors that a human might display that shows they're emotionally unstable. On the flip side, some of the nonverbal cues that an emotionally stable, thoughtful, balanced person might display are things like, they're smiling, they shake your hand, they make eye contact, they nod their head. Those are some nonverbal cues that tell you that person's in a good place right now. They don't feel or display behaviors that make me feel like they're getting ready to attack. They're very calm. They bring a calming presence to the group. Then you've got the verbal cues. So the aggressive human displays verbal cues like screaming and cursing and yelling. I guess that's kind of the same thing, screaming and yelling. And in humans, manipulation of facts and data and occurrences and intentions are all verbal cues that a person is not balanced, that a human is not well. And I'm not saying that an unwell person should be condemned, but we got to be careful who we establish intimate relationships with. And we've got to watch for these cues. Some of the verbal displays of a healthy, well-balanced person is laughter, chatter, encouraging words, positivity, encouragement, like team building sort of words and phrases. They're not Debbie Downers. They're positive, uplifting, encouraging people. So let's say verbal and nonverbal cues, again, in humans also can give us a really banner indication of whether or not we're dealing with someone who's emotionally balanced or well, or whether we should back away because an attack is pending. Listen to this. I mentioned the job I had from 2014 to 2019 and the narcissist who had selected me for her target, for her supply. She was extremely aggressive. She was always combative and challenging and nitpicky and questioning everything I did. Everything I did in the office was always wrong or something. She had a problem with it. Even if it had nothing to do with her. Cleaning out the paper shredder. Just as a for instance, she would come right behind me after I just got done cleaning it out and she would clean it better. I ignored quite a bit of that, but this is the stuff she would do. She would redo anything I did. The stupidest little things. If I washed out the coffee pot in the kitchen, she would come behind me and wash it out again. Better. I mean, it was in the whole goal was to try to intimidate me. And really, I excused it and just thought she was crazy. That was so much easier than me trying to figure out why her behavior even mattered to me. That's why it's so imperative for you to work on becoming healthy, is you cannot combat narcissism and toxic people in your life until you understand yourself. It's really important to understand yourself and what's going on up here and what's going on in here in order to combat toxic people, in order to establish good relationships in your life. So I knew very early on, but I could have never communicated this to anyone because I didn't understand the full story. I knew very on what her emotional state was. It was probably 2 weeks into my job that I first went, there is something wrong with that girl. Not once did I ever engage with her, raise my voice with her, become combative with her or anything similar to that. If anything, I talked till I was blue in the face in a very calm tone, very professional, very respectful, and tried to understand her perspective. Little did I know, because I did not know what a narcissist was at the time. I just, honestly, I thought she was crazy. Honestly, I thought she was crazy. Yes, truer words were never spoken. At that time, back in 2014, 2015, 2016, through mid-2019, I genuinely brushed her off and tried my best to ignore her because I thought that her problem was that she was crazy. So we've packed a lot into a short time. So let's recap the whole point of this video. What in the world do wolves have to do with humans and wellness? Firstly, of all the biologically related living beings, biologists over decades who have studied wolves, wolf packs, and wolf behavior have proven that wolves and humans are the most similar behaviorally, nearly identical behavior. Further, alpha wolves and social hierarchy within a wolf pack is established the same way across all packs and all groups. And ability is the primary determining factor within a pack that establishes social hierarchy or rank. Other characteristics that a pack look for in an alpha are humility, care, intelligence, and mindfulness of the success of the pack, the betterment of the group. Some characteristics that alpha wolves do not have: unnecessary or unprovoked internal aggression, foolhardy behavior, carelessness, and self-focused ambition. If a wolf member in a pack displays unprovoked or unwarranted aggression towards another member, that member is disciplined by the alpha and eventually ostracized if it does not check itself. The strongest, the wisest, the most successful pack simply does not tolerate squabbling within the group. Now, as humans, we love to think that we know best about so many things. But let's be real, we don't. If you're not the spiritual type, then I'm not sure who you look for or what you look to for guidance or direction in life when you're moving throughout the world. But I'm a spiritual person, and a lot of spiritual people look to God, the creator of the natural world, for guidance and direction. Now, don't stop the video yet. I'm coming to a point here. It does not matter whether you're a spiritual person or a non-spiritual person. Sometimes all we have to do is look to the natural world and what's happening within the natural world for answers, for guidance and direction, for simplicity, to simplify life's struggles. And in January 2022, I learned a very specific example of how we can look to the natural world and why we would want to look to wolves specifically, because behaviorally humans are almost identical to wolves. By reading that article from the December 2016, January 2017 issue of Reader's Digest that I have linked in the description. Like wolves, we can listen to or observe the nonverbal and verbal social cues that are displayed by humans to know what their emotional state is. The more we observe and the more we listen, the more evidence we gather of the human's social rank within any given group. All we have to do is sit back and observe what their emotional state is over time. And if a human behaves contrary to what the natural world has demonstrated time and again promises success for the rank of each member of any given group, that will inevitably lead to the demise of that group, that human group, just as it does with the wolves. And way back when that former executive told me that the reason my narcissistic ex-coworker and I butted heads was simply because we are both alpha females, I just scoffed and blew it off. I knew back then that that coworker was not an alpha female. My gut instincts told me, which is why I could never bring myself to comply with her. It wasn't the natural order of things. And that has been proven by the wolves. Worse, the executives who allowed her squabbling and nitpicky behavior within the group to continue time and time and time again, who did not ostracize, aka terminate her from the group as per the natural order of things, were also not alphas, as proven by the wolves. I made a very painful decision mid-2019 to leave this organization. It felt to me like the natural thing to do, like the right thing to do. I couldn't even explain it to my husband, who was very nervous at the time about me leaving this job. But look what happened. That pack completely fell apart. Just like the natural world predicts that a pack rotting from the inside will not succeed, that organization rotting from the inside from its toxic people and its toxic dynamic and its toxic leadership rotted from the inside out and completely fell apart, just like a wolf pack rots from the inside. Even a previously strong pack that's been around for over 6 decades. Then, much to my surprise, years later, come to find out from the wolves that the whole time, unbeknownst to me, I was the alpha wolf the whole time. I hope that this video gives you some peace and some confidence and some security with your own situation. If you're dealing with a narcissist, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Have trust in yourself. Have faith that things are going to turn around, and stay strong, because you are way stronger than you think you are. Thanks so much for tuning in to another video of Whole Wellness with Ann. Take care, guys.